So, here we are. The moment this entire semester has been leading up to. For those that don't know, these videos are a part of a series that I had to do for my History of Video Games class. Every week, we listened to an audio lecture and a pool of games that were discussed in the lecture were given to us, the students, to make a video about. But you fucked up now. You thought I wouldn't notice? You think I wouldn't notice one slip up when the guy talked about indie games for 30 minutes? Well, let me tell you something, Buster. I am observant. And I couldn't help but notice that there was a certain game not mentioned in the indie games lecture. You're not stupid. You can read the title. No more fucking around. It's time for a real man's game. That's right, my final gaming video, for now, is motherfucking Terraria. I can't think of a better game to cap off the semester than this one. This is one of the few games that I genuinely have nothing but praise for. Terraria is like one of those gifts that keep on giving. Numerous content updates and reworks have kept the pulse of this game ticking like a clockwork rifle. The developers always claim that every update is the last, but remember, I am observant. The truth is, Terraria is not only beloved by the millions who've played it, but by the developers themselves. I've seriously never seen a game that is so obviously cared for by the people who've made it than Terraria. And the proof is in the pudding! The numbers don't lie! The eagle has landed. Terraria is the 10th best-selling game of all time for a good reason. Hell, it's one of only 3 indie games in the top 20, and it still doesn't get a mention. Guffaw. But what is it exactly that made Terraria so good? Come on. We all know what you're here for. You know the drill. No more poussoir footing around. Let's get into it. Oxford Dictionary defines stupidity as behavior that shows a lack of good sense or judgment. But what Oxford won't tell you is that stupidity is actually defined as saying Terraria is just 2D Minecraft. Perhaps it's a bit of a personal tangent, but I simply cannot stand when somebody says this all too popular phrase. Not only does it make Terraria seem way more confusing for the fledgling player, it also couldn't be further from the truth. I will say, the two games are similar in that you mine and craft, and they are two of the most recognizable indie games of the 21st century. But beyond that, the games are complete opposites. We will discuss this more later, but for now, let's talk about the history of Terraria. Terraria started its life cycle in January of 2011, being developed by indie games company Relogic. At first, the game only had a handful of items and a few bosses, but the game's scope would expand rapidly as time went on. Terraria would release officially on PC on May 16th, 2011. And boy, what a time it was. Because of its proximity to Minecraft, Terraria would see a huge amount of success on its release. This was thanks in part to YouTube. People began playing the game for audiences of millions across the globe and became one of the most purchased games on Steam. And just like a fine wine, Terraria only got better with age. But I wouldn't put it past people to write the game off as a cheap Minecraft knockoff. The 2D sprites might seem a bit lackluster when compared to the 3D graphics of similar games. So, what is it exactly that sets Terraria apart from its contemporaries? Are you ready? Because this is where shit gets real. Terraria is a game where you mine, build, and craft, but that is far from the main focus of the game. Terraria is actually more akin to an RPG that simply has elements of other survival craft games. The game doesn't tell you this. Well, then again, it doesn't really tell you anything. But the point of the game is to collect and craft gear in order to explore the world. Doing this allows you to collect and craft better gear to defeat the game's litany of incredible bosses. And the gear you collect isn't just your run-of-the-mill swords and bows. You've got things like a guitar that shoots stars, a sword that shoots other swords, a book that pisses on bitches, and a bubble cannon. Fucking love the bubble cannon! All of these weapons and more are split up into the 4 main classes of the game: melee, ranged, mage, and summoner. Progression in Terraria is mainly horizontal. There's no XP system. Instead, your character's power is tied to the accessories, gear, and weapons that you collect on your journey. And this is done all in the name of defeating bosses. You start out the game fighting a toothed eyeball, a floating skeleton, and a pissed off bee. But then you get into the crazy shit like the Wall of Flesh, Duke Fishron, and actual literal Cthulhu. 2D Minecraft, by the way. This may all seem simple, but I will say, the barrier of entry in Terraria is quite high. So high, in fact, that it puts a lot of people off to the game. Hell, in order to know what you're doing, you have to pore through like 200 pages of the Terraria wiki. I don't consider this a bad thing, but I can certainly understand how it may frustrate people. So, let this video serve as your guide to Terraria. Let's begin. So you've made your character, chosen your world evil, and given your world a funny name. You load in and you see trees all around you and a strange man known only as the Guide. What now? Do I chop trees and build a house? No! Wait, yeah? After this is done, you make some tools, weapons, and armor, and you're ready to start exploring. It's here where you get acquainted with this funny thing in Terraria called excruciating difficulty. Patent pending! Make no mistake, you will die in Terraria. You will get blown up by the funny dynamite trap. You will die over and over again to dart traps. But you must press on. Doing this will grant you access to some awesome accessories like the Hermes boots, which grant you extra speed, and the fart in a jar, which, in addition to giving you a double jump, also makes a funny toot noise. "2D Minecraft, by the way. Once you're done looting and spelunking to your heart's content, it's time to fight a boss. Most people begin with the Eye of Cthulhu, but it's not too uncommon to start with Skeletron. Either way, defeating Skeletron grants you access to your world's dungeon, a sprawling area filled with tons of difficult enemies to fight and awesome loot to collect. From there, there's only one thing left to do. You must kill the Guide. After digging a tunnel all the way to the underworld, there's a chance for you to find a demon carrying a voodoo doll of the Guide. Dropping this voodoo doll into the lava below kills your Guide in great agony and summons the ultimate horror, the Wall of Flesh. This fight will frustrate you. The tendrils will penetrate you. You may snap your keyboard in twine, but once you finally beat the wall, you are thrown the ultimate curveball that still gives me chills to this day. You thought the game was hard already? Oh, you innocent little bitch. That was only pre-hard mode. Welcome to hard mode. This is where the game of Terraria truly begins. New bosses, ores, weapons, and events are now at your disposal. Don't let the name fool you. This is the best part of the game by far. Is it still difficult? Certainly. But the game opens up so much that you forget about the difficulty. It's at this point where you can build more houses for NPCs to move in. You could also do that earlier, but I digress. Then you can upgrade more and take on the mechanical bosses. There are 3 mechanical bosses that you must defeat in order to progress. 2 are simply mechanical forms of the Eye of Cthulhu and Skeletron, both called the Twins and Skeletron Prime, respectively. But there is also the Destroyer. The Destroyer used to be the final boss of Terraria, and it shows. This motherfucker is a motherfucker. You hit it and its little sections come off and pelt you with lasers until you turn into 16-bit Swiss cheese. But I am your Terraria guide, and I am observant! And I'm here to let you in on a little secret. Don't tell anybody. But once you're in hard mode, the Hallow biome spawns. Go to the underground Hallow and kill mimics until the Daedalus Stormbow drops. Next, get some holy arrows and let the slaughter commence. Alright, this video is getting long, so, time for the speed round.
Once you kill the mechanical bosses, you next have to wait for a Plantera bulb to spawn in your underground jungle. Then once you kill Plantera, Plantera drops the temple key. Use the temple key to gain access to the temple where you will kill Golem. Once Golem is dead, head to your world's dungeon and take on the lunatic cultist. Once you do that, the 4 celestial pillars respawn, representing each of the game's 4 classes. Destroying each of the pillars will summon the Moon Lord, which is the actual final boss of the game. You kill the Moon Lord and you're done.
Did you get all that? 2D Minecraft, by the way. I know that this was a lot and it seems daunting, but Terraria lets you take it at your own pace. That's what I love most about this game. There's no time crunch or great goal you must achieve. Everything you do in the game contributes to the progression in some way or another. For example, building houses and structures allows more NPCs to move in, unlocking more items and accessories. Collecting herbs and fishes make powerful potions you can use to fight bosses. Even exploration offers more ways to make your character stronger. On the surface at night, you can pick up fallen stars to increase your mana pool. On the flip side, underground, you can find heart crystals that increase your maximum health. That's the great thing about Terraria. Nothing you do ever feels pointless. Terraria was handcrafted so that every aspect is challenging and, more importantly, rewarding. I hope you learned something from this video. I hope I gave you a reason to go out and explore this game. It always goes on sale on Steam, but the amount of hours you'll get from Terraria makes the game feel like you made off like a bandit. It gets even better when you realize that the game is very easily moddable, so go out and play Terraria with some friends. Or alone. I'm not your fucking therapist. I guarantee you that you will not be disappointed. This will be my last video in this series for now, and I hope you enjoyed the journey from the start of the semester to now. This has been Drew. Until next time.